Welcome back to another episode of Rob Sports Center. As you can see by the title and by the thumbnail, today we're going to be breaking down some film on Trey Hendrickson. And man, you just looking at this first play, man, it's just complete annihilation. So Trey Hendrickson, and I was listening to the commentators, and they were saying that one thing he was doing in this game a lot, and I'm pretty sure this might have been a tactic he might have been using to accumulate as many sacks as he did this offseason, was just being able to out leverage his opponents, meaning that he was attacking. So if you look at, he attacked the outside shoulder. Now, granted, Pacheco was supposed to give him some chip help right here, and he didn't do that at all. He just left that to a one-on-one situation. And like I say, man, Trey Hendrickson just took full advantage of it. If you look at the offensive lineman, you know, everything is based off of hand placement. And he kind of was doing like a little bit of hand fighting, but his hands was kind of down. And Trey Hendrickson just put his hands in his chest and just pushed him back and just overpowered him and was able to get back there to Patrick Mahomes on his play to be able to get a sack. So, man, this to start it off, man, this is like what I like to see right here, man. Just straight aggression, straight physicality, straight, just pure dominance, man. Whenever you get those opportunities one-on-one, that just like they gave right here, we got to take full advantage of those. So just look at the domination once again on this play. So on this play right here, they were trying to kind of slide the protection over to Trey Hendrickson to try to give the left tackle some extra hand with blocking him. You see how they kind of slid the protection over to the left, and they used the running back to chip the end on this, the outside linebacker on this end before he goes out into his route. But Trey Hendrickson just did a good job at once again dominating that left tackle from the beginning. Like he dominated that one-on-one so bad that they didn't even have time to really be able to shift over to him, because if you look at the offensive lineman that was trying to come over and help, initially he had to block his guy, but then also too, this goes to show you why in order for everything to work, everybody has to play their role. So let's just say if those other guys just say for instance, if they took a play off, right? And if they took that play off, it would allow for the offensive lineman to be in position to be able to double team Trey Hendrickson a little better. But by him, actually going through and actually trying to give an effort on the play, whether he gets the sack or not, it's making the offensive lineman have to hold on to that block much longer until the other guy can come pick up to where he can get to go help Trey Hendrickson. But by that time, Trey Hendrickson had pretty much overwhelmed him and was just able to split it before the double team was able to get to him. But like I said, man, that's just the type of attention that a guy like that commands. You know what I mean? He commands you having to try to find different ways to block him, just because you know that one-on-one situations you cannot block him. And in every situation, you're not going to always be able to get a running back or a tight end to chip. And sometimes you're going to have to try to possibly rely on double teams from the offensive lineman. But then that allows other guys to potentially have opportunities to shine. So once again, you got a one-on-one matchup with Trey Hendrickson on the outside right here, man. And he just does a good job at winning the hand fighting battle right there. If you look closely right here, you're going to see that once he goes to try to put his hands on Hendrickson just does a good job at knocking his hands down. So that's one of the things I'm noticing about him too, is that he has pretty active hands, meaning that he's always fighting for positioning, because everything is based off of hand placement. From an offensive lineman standpoint, trying to block a pass rusher, it's all based off of hand placement. So as a defensive lineman, we know in order to disrupt what they can do from an offensive lineman standpoint, we have to be active with our hands, and we have to keep their hands occupied. So when they go to try to put hands on us, we have to be able to knock down their hands. Either you can go from like right here to knock down their hands, or let's just say, for instance, if his hands was low and he wasn't active in terms of the offensive lineman, then you just can put your hands in his chest and bull rush him back. But right here, he did a good job of just knocking down the offensive lineman's hands and just kind of getting underneath them and being able to kind of bend and get back there to Daniel Jones for the sack. So something else we're going to talk about is like the psychological impact that a guy like Trey Hendrickson brings. So just think about it from a quarterback standpoint. Like in this game right here where Daniel Jones at this point had been sacked, after this one right here, had been sacked 2 times already. So it starts to put you in a sense of panic, because now you start having to try to rush decisions because you're thinking that you don't have that much time. You know what I mean? That's the type of psychological warfare, the mental warfare that a good defensive lineman puts on a quarterback, is making you think that you really don't have enough time, but you do in a sense, because every play he's not getting back there. But the fact that he has been successful with getting back there twice, that's just off sacks. How many times have he been hurried? How many times have he possibly been knocked down? So it starts to play those games with you to where you're saying, man, I got to try to get this ball out of my hand a lot quicker, and that could possibly lead to turnovers. So right here we have our first gotta have a situation. So this was a 3rd and 4 sack right here from Trey Hendrickson. So once again, man, he just does a good job at hand placement, hand fighting, put it like that. Obviously you see that the offensive lineman was going to put his hands in his chest to probably try to block him or not to probably try to block him, but to try and block him. But once again, man, he just does a good job at actively using his hands. And it looked like for the most part, most of what I'm seeing, I mean, obviously early on, we did see the bull rush. He did bull rush early on, but everything else has just really been him being active with his hands and preventing the offensive linemen from being able to get their hands where they want to put him at to be able to successfully block him, whether that be him knocking their hands down. And once again, he does a good job of just being able to knock their hands down, rip through, and kind of just bend and get back there to the quarterback. Now, I thought that they was going to maybe try to do a chip block situation with the tight end, and maybe the tight end saw another matchup that they were losing on the offensive line, so he tried to go help up there with that one. But right here, Trey Hendrickson, like I said, once again, man, just did a good job with being able to knock his hands down, rip underneath, and being able to get back there for the sack on this 3rd and 4th play. So right here on this play, man, the offensive lineman really didn't do too bad of a job, honestly, being able to just put a target in front of Trey Hendrickson to slow him down to being able to get to the quarterback. I mean, he did a good job at really just being able to anticipate that snap. You know, if you look, he's like it was almost simultaneously. As soon as the ball was being snapped, he was already back in position right there. So he already kind of had it in terms of positioning and leverage. He already kind of had the jump on Trey Hendrickson. But relentless effort from Trey Hendrickson allowed to him, which led to him being able to get the sack. I mean, if you look in the interior, I mean, they got a push coming forward with number 90 and number 93. So he had nothing there in terms of the quarterback. So obviously now you got Trey Hendrickson, who studied fighting from the back end, is able to finally come up and be able to, because it's only so long offensive lineman can block, and he's able to come up and get the sack. But it goes down to one of the things, like I said, the main thing is relentless effort, right? You know, even if everything doesn't go, even if things don't go as planned, right? Even if I'm not able to, knock his hands down, swim underneath, swim over top, bull rush, whatever the case may be, to be able to get back there, that doesn't mean that the play is over with. Now with Trey Hendrickson, if you look, and just like on this play, and there was another play that I seen earlier, that he just continues to fight, fight all the way through. So he fights from the original right here when the guy had position on him already. He just kept fighting, trying to just, try to get through or get past him some way possible. And the pressure in the interior allow for the line to collapse from the interior, and it just allowed for him to be able to come on the back end and get a sack. But like I said, man, a lot of that just comes down from effort, man. And I always say, and I emphasize, man, you don't have to be the strongest, the fastest, the most athletic. You don't have to have any of those things to give high effort. All you have to do is give effort, and with high effort, you get results like this on this play. So right here, they have him lined up. Well, he's actually lined up much wider than what he normally lines up, because normally he would be lined up outside of the left tackle. But right here, they have a running back lined up right there too. So I guess they was trying to create a double team look, if anything, to kind of make him hesitate, opposed to just giving him a free release. And the running back, I thought, was going to chip him coming out of the backfield, but he didn't even touch him. He just sidestepped the running back. And then once again, active hands was just able to knock down the offensive lineman hands, prevent him from being able to get his hands on him to be able to try to block him, and was able to get in the backfield and make a strip sack on the quarterback. And obviously, we know the name of the game in football to win is scoring points, right? So good defenders are able to create opportunities for their offense to score points, because just think about the thing when we talk about hidden yardage. Hidden yardage is the yards accumulated from a punt return, a kick return, or a bad punt return, a bad kick return, or turnovers. Because if you create turnovers here, you're putting your offense in a good field, in a good situation to where they don't have to drive the field, the length of the field, to be able to put up points. And considering how explosive and how good the Cincinnati offense is, the last thing that you want to do is put them at great field position to pretty much to where they're almost already in field goal range whenever they start their drive. So right here, I don't know what was going on with Tennessee. So Trey Hendrickson is one of those guys that you have to, and by the way, this was a gotta have it situation too. This was a 3rd down play to where we have to get this 1st down in order to move the sticks, to keep this drive alive. And you mean to tell me on a 3rd down play, you don't block the best guy on that defense? So Trey Hendrickson is already hard enough to deal with blocking 1-on-1, sometimes even 2-on-1. So to just give him a free shot at the running back or the quarterback or whoever's the ball carrier in the backfield, that's just not idealistic. So they allow him to come through, and he's able to come get a hold to Levis and rip that ball out for a fumble. And like I said, man, good defensive players are able to take the ball away from the opposing offense to put the ball in hands of their offense to try to go up and put some points on the board. So this probably has to be one of my favorite plays I've ran across since breaking down film on him, and just notice, just the eye discipline and to being able to see what's going on, and understanding what it is the offense is trying to do. So you see he's lined up on the outside, and the way he's lined up, obviously he pretty much knew that he wasn't going to have a shot at getting to the quarterback based off of. And then if you really just look at it too, look at when the quarterback gets the ball. So as soon as the ball is hiked, boom, the quarterback squares up. So you pretty much know that for the most part, that ball is coming out of his hands when he's squared up. It's squared up and he's aiming at his target. So he's aware of that. And you look at the way that the wide receiver is. So a lot of times too, it can be based off of film study and just knowing that out of this formation, how they line up right here, this is what they like to do, or this is what they're trying to do. And sometimes just having an understanding of the game allows for you to do that as well. But but this type of play right here is something that you don't normally see from a guy on the outside, whether it be an edge rusher, outside linebacker, et cetera, et cetera. But he just was able to understand and recognize exactly what the offense was doing, and was able to just, be right there and disrupt the play. And just like I said, in the clip before this previous one, in on the play where he was able to get that forced fumble on Will Levis, like I say, Trey Hendrickson has to be that guy that you have to account for every single play, because he has the capability on any given play to just disrupting everything that you want to do as an offense. So this play right here, this was a gotta have it situation against Pittsburgh. So this is an embodiment of what I always talk about when I talk about effort. Right? This is an embodiment of what I talk about when I talk about effort. So if you look at him out here on the outside, number 65 actually did a pretty good job at being able to block him or being able to keep him at bay for as long as he could. Now, the thing about Trey Hendrickson is that he has a high motor, right? He's one of those guys that I talk about that has the high motor that even if initially they weren't able to put themselves in position to make a play, he's still going to fight and fight and fight up until the whistle is blown and eventually create opportunities for him to make a play. So it's almost the equivalent of when you think about a wide receiver, that when a quarterback takes off running, that he might not have been open initially, but when a quarterback is able to get out the pocket, extend the play a little bit, now he can reroute himself, and now he can put himself in position to give the quarterback a target to throw to. That's the equivalent to what it is for a defensive lineman. And Trey Hendrickson does a good job at that right here. And like I always talk about, man, effort is one of those things that, for one, effort is free. There's no cost to giving it, right? And then on top of that, the things that you may lack, right? You might not be the fastest, you might not be the strongest, you might not be the quickest, you might not be the most agile, your footwork might not be the best, but one thing that you can do to try to make sure that you maximize on your ability to make plays is just give effort every single down. So Trey Hendrickson has some of the best hand fighting that I've seen since I've been breaking down film. And I've broke down a few defensive linemen, man. But it's just like I say, man, he just does a good job at just not allowing the offensive lineman to be in position to put hands on him to be able to deter him from being able to get to the quarterback in the backfield, man. Like, just look at this right here. It's just like I say, it's hard for them to be able to get hands on him. As soon as he go to put hands on him, he's just able to knock him down. And he has his hands up high. It wasn't like he was lazy with his hands on the offensive lineman part. And if you really look at it, he really got a jump on the snap. He did a good job at anticipating the snap and being able to get, like, he's already moving at that point before Trey Hendrickson even start. But Trey Hendrickson just does a good job at closing the distance. And I think that's probably something that helps him as well, is that he's so good at being able to close the distance that, I think that he comes up on the offensive lineman a lot quicker than what they anticipate. And by the time they try to go get hands on him, his hands are already active and fighting. And he's just able to just knock their hands down and get around them and being able to get back there and get a sack on the quarterback. So this is another play right here where you just kind of see the brute strength of him. So it looked like he was actually finna go to try to knock the offensive lineman's hands down. And I guess, I don't know, he might have just kind of got caught out of position. So he just said, forget it, and just put his hands in his chest and just bull rushed him back and was able to get back there and get a sack on the quarterback. But like I say, man, he can do it from all aspects, man. He can do it from the finesse game, just being able to knock your hands up off of him and being able to just bend that corner and get to the quarterback. But then he also can do it from a power standpoint, like how he does right here, where he just pushes the quarterback all the way into the backfield. And the offensive lineman actually still has hands on him when he gets hold of Cooper Rush. Like, look at him. So he's actually got a hold to Cooper Rush with one arm and pulls him down while the offensive lineman was still holding on to him. Like I said, man, that right there is just tenacity. That's just tenacity at its finest, and that goes back into effort as well, man. So this play right here is probably my favorite play outside of the play where he was able to read the wide receiver screen and make a play on the ball. Right here, man, once again, this play right here is just self-explanatory. I ain't even got to go into deep detail. This is just physicality at its finest. So like I always tell people, man, when they talk about how the game is so-called soft nowadays, if you want to see some physical football, watch what goes down in those trenches. And watching Trey Hendrickson, breaking down film on him, this guy embodies physical football. He just completely destroys this left tackle, man. I'm talking about he just never had any opportunity. And I was assuming that they was probably going to use the running back to maybe try to hip check him before he go into his route to try to slow him down. But I mean, he just had the offensive lineman beat from the beginning, man. Like I'm talking about just completely just obliterated him and was able to get in the backfield for a sack. And this was a guy to have a situation as well. This was a third down play. So like I say, once again, as a defense, man, you want to be able to get off the field on third down to put your offense on the field. So if you can do it, if you can't do it from turning the ball over, you can do it from getting third down stops and, put halting the opposing offense on drives and being able to get your offense the ball so they can go on the field and be able to try to put up points to win it. And obviously when you got Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, when you got all those guys on the offense side of the ball, you want to keep the ball in their hands as much as possible. So, man, it's a lot to like about Trey Hendrickson. I will say one of the things I did observe that from breaking down his highlights, a lot of his plays, a lot of those sacks were, coming on first down, second down, and things of that nature. I mean, you had a few of them that was third down. I don't think I've seen any was fourth down. And I say that to say that goes to show you that the struggles defensively wasn't always necessarily on him, because you got situations where he might have made the play on first down, made a sack on the first down, made a sack on the second down, and they get on third down, and somehow it was a deep pass that was given up in the secondary. So it's not necessarily all on him. And I seen a guy when I made a post about Trey Hendrickson, should the Cincinnati Bengals pay him or not, he was like, yeah, he's a 4-3 edge that can do a multitude of things. And he was just basically saying that they need to build their defense around him. And I was like, yeah, I agree with you on that, because I mean, if you look at Trey Hendrickson, man, he's just a very disruptive player that if you don't take into consideration of where he's at on any given play, man, he can destroy everything offensively that you're trying to do. So that could be something they can build around, try to put other pieces on the defensive line, or even try to incorporate some linebackers to be able to come in, shoot gaps and things like that in those run fits to try to help with defending the run. And then, obviously probably making some adjustments in the secondary too, because a lot of that, for you to be giving up as many points as you gave up this past season, it wasn't just in one particular area. It was a couple areas that can use a few minor tweaks. But man, other than that, man, I really did enjoy breaking down film on him. He's probably one of the most disruptive players that I've broke film down on. So, I mean, hopefully Cincinnati is able to give him the money that he deserves. But man, that is it for this video. If you did enjoy this video, do me a big favor, man. Smash that thumbs up button. Also, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. When you subscribe, make sure that you got that notification bell turned on. That way you be updated on every time that I upload. And I'll see y'all in the next video.